All right, so I'm going to get started and I'm going to ask everybody. So, Al, you can unmute. So, first of all, actually, I want to just welcome everyone to this room. And we have a lot of people coming in. This is really great. It's the first time that Al has been on this wonderful new app. And it's very telling because he's been in the limelight for 60 years as a co-founding member of the Beach Boys. And like many people who have endured and transformed and changed and pivoted, as they say, over time, this is a perfect example of the past and the future meeting and coming together in the present with, you know, taking something and music and musicians as iconic as Al and bringing them to a new place and a new way to connect to people authentically. So first of all, I just really want to thank everyone for coming in. And I am joined on stage, in addition to Al Jardine, by a friend, Will O'Brien, who is a musician, a technologist, a serial entrepreneur, and he's going to be helping with some music. And my friend Martin, who runs a thing called the Songwriting Academy UK, which is an amazing organization that is a school for songwriters and helping people learn techniques and get out there. So it's just a really wonderful. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a really warm, fuzzy, authentic talk about the creative process and the fact that Al Jardine has a new single that just came out. It's sort of a feel-good Valentine's Day thing. You know, we're with COVID-19, with being locked down. We're stuck at home, and music is the thing that lifts us up and makes us happy. So I want to first just ask Al if you want to unmute and say hi to everybody and introduce yourself.
Hello. Hi, everybody in the club room.
Yes. We have quite a wonderful crowd of people actually coming in. I can't really do the count, but so just to let everybody know and let you know, Al, we're going to talk a little bit about Jenny Clover, and we're going to talk about Ways of Love and sort of the background of how these songs came together and their history and both the creative and this sort of long and winding road. And then I'm going to just sort of go into some other questions. So do you want to just start and share, like, you have a new single? The CD is almost sold out in its first day, which is amazing. And I think people are just hungry for new music and happy music. And I'd love for you to share how both Ways of Love and Jenny Clover came together. And then we're going to have Will play a little bit of each as well.
Holy cow, Larry. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Well, just...
That was a joke.
Okay.
Holy cow, Larry.
Holy cow. Okay. All right. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. I mean, there's so much to talk about that I don't know where to begin. But we had a lovely, we had a wonderful experience when you came down to the ranch that day. And you were so taken by this bovine creature. Remember? And you were so inspired, as a matter of fact, you brought your guitar out to the fence and actually serenaded her, as I recall. Yeah. And that was quite touching, I thought. And so Marianne and I were so taken by it, we decided to add some lyrics to help you with some lyrics to the melody. And it really worked out, I thought.
And it's in keeping with things from, you're a colleague of, originally from the 1960s, you're a colleague of the members of the Beatles, the members of the Rolling Stones. And, what it reminded me of is Paul McCartney wrote a song, Martha, My Dear, and everyone thought it was about, like, his mom or his girlfriend, but it was about his dog, Martha. So when you hear the lyrics to Jenny Clover, and we're going to have Will play it, a little bit of it in a moment, you think it's about a lovely maiden, from the dell in the forest, and it's really about
that was the whole idea.
Yeah,
it's all tongue in cheek.
Yes, and I do remember you coming back from town and seeing me in the field with a guitar next to the cow and thinking this guy's crazy or something.
I got. Yeah. No, it was really charming. It was very bucolic, and kind of cool, and very and we all love Jenny. She was a beautiful creature, and she was actually a what do you call it, a runt. She was a litter, and they usually get rid of the runts when they're in the dairy business. And we had a neighbor who owned a farm, a dairy farm, and offered her to us. And so we took her under our wing, and she grew up to be about the size of a truck. She was not a runt, as you remember, or she was, but she didn't look like one. But she was just a beautiful, God, amazing, wasn't she?
She was a big gal, as they would say, and I love the fact that it's almost like a nursery rhyme. This Jennifer Clover. It's very sweet, and with very, little tongue in cheek.
Yep. And then she moves me. She moves you off your fence. She moved you right off your fence.
Exactly. And is this the first time that Marianne, your wife, actually is on a song, or has she worked on other lyrics before or since?
Oh yeah, she's very creative. She's been involved in the postcard album. She offered some lyrics to help me complete the project. Yeah, very helpful. And we enjoy. In fact, the postcard album is being re-released with the West Coast version of Jenny Clover. I mean, Jenny Clover.
Waves of Love.
Yeah. Got ahead of myself, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Waves.
At any rate.
And if I could just tell people on the room who maybe don't know, Al has and it sounds like I'm just sort of brown nosing here, but truly, in his entire career that spans decades, he released a one of a kind, beautiful album called A Postcard from California. You can obviously find it everywhere. It's on all the Amazons and Titles and Spotify's, and it's like a journey along US 1, the beautiful road that goes along the coast, and it takes you on this whole beautiful journey, and and then the guest stars on it are, at least for me, like an old guy here, the iconic people, Crosby and Stills and Neil Young and Glenn Campbell when he was still alive, and Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. How did you get all of these people? I mean, did you just ring them up and say, "Hey, Flea, I want you to come play bass on Help Me Rhonda"?
Yeah, well, exactly. And he is also was a neighbor, next door neighbor in where we live, north of Monterey, south of Monterey, I mean, and we just you just call in your friends when you have something you want to share, and hopefully they'll want to share with you, and because the Beach Boys weren't recording at the time. So
great.
We did, it was a good time to. They were my and Matthew, of course, Matt Jardine and Adam Jardine were my Beach Boys. You see,
and
so I had help from all of these great artists and my sons.
Was there a favorite that stood out? Like, was it Neil Young, singing, or was it Glenn Campbell coming in on? I mean, that. So we are, by the way, sort of on a tangent already, but it's a good tangent because these are really iconic people who changed the world of music, and they're all kind of on your record, which we'll get back to Jenny Clover, but is an iconic piece of music that I hope with Universal releasing will be heard by more people.
Yeah, well, Adam, my son Adam, suggested that Neil would sound really good on a verse on California Saga, and so I pursued Neil relentlessly to sing that second verse, and he finally found the time and very generously invited me to a studio, and at the time was in Woodland Hills in California, and we just had a great day together. So things like that happen just spontaneously.
That's wonderful. I'm going to pivot back now to reset the conversation to Jenny Clover, which was just released yesterday publicly, and Will, who is here, sort of what this, just to give a little background that I should have done in the beginning, is that I'm really starting a kind of conversation here on Clubhouse where it's part of the Do What You Love media company that Al, we did that wonderful Zoom talk in the fall on October 13th, I think. So it was literally just a few months ago. And we're going to be presenting this as a series where we Do What You Love presents people who have made it in their chosen profession and then have stories to tell and wisdom to share. So you're actually breaking new ground by using this new technology that's everybody's sort of trying to get into and is excited and talking about. So this is the first of many. So enough talking. Will, if you don't mind unmuting, saying hi to everybody, and we're going to play a little bit of Jennifer Clover so people can hear.
Okay, here we go. To meet you, and I know there's a growing crowd here of people who are fans and excited to hear your stories and your words. So let's play Jennifer Clover. Just launched yesterday.
Turn it up.
Jennifer Clover, I'm over the moon. Just for you, I wake up early every morning just to see you there. I love you, Jenny knows I care. The milk of your kindness is so pure. The look on your face is so dear. When you come into my garden, all my flowers bloom. In every year, I will leave the door ajar. The pathway to my heart is just for you. Your brown eyes deep within us.
Will, I don't know if you can hear us. It kind of frisked out there, unless you. Oh, were you stopping it there?
Yeah, well, I was fading out for you to jump in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just so everybody knows, we're on a phone, so the audio isn't. It's not the Royal Albert Hall, but Al, that it just has this beautiful, almost like reminds me of like In My Room or something. There's this sort of conversational thing about it that's just really sweet, and the way you sang it has that kind of longing and bittersweet feeling to the melody and the words.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there anything else you want to share about it and about the song? And
we should probably get we should probably get put a really great guitar break in the middle.
Yes.
No, I'm serious.
Well,
I'm serious.
Yeah, well, that's going to be Jenny Clover 2.0 as well. We have now Waves of Love, like 9.0.
Yeah. That's really just a demo anyway. We've got a nice demo there. Now we got to finish it.
Okay. Well, it's only been 27 years, so a few more at this point is not going to hurt. I want to share that I want to share two little points that, for me personally, and I mean this as an inspiration, working with you has been one of the most amazing things, because we've really become friends since 1993. And, you have really exemplified what a good friend is. And, when my mom passed away, I came out to stay with you and just be in the nature. And that's really beyond making music or any transactional thing, like real friends. And even when I was sort of in a tight spot and I needed help, you were just boom right there. So I want to thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, and I also want to point out for people in the audience, there's a lot of people here who are musicians, and they're just looking at the world and they're thinking, oh gosh, there's so much competition, I'm never going to make it, or people have told me my songs are no good or my voice is no good. And I just want to share with everyone listening that I was the guy who sang so bad in high school that the band would have me do one song, and then the next week when I'd show up for rehearsal, the microphone would be gone, and people would, the band would be like, "Look, just play the keyboard, like don't worry about the singing." So you're singing lead on the song, and I put all those harmonies that we were listening to, and I'm saying this as an inspiration that if I can kind of come from nowhere to singing behind you, as a vocalist, and what people call America's band, I mean, that's how they introduce you on tour. I just want to share that anything is possible for the people in this room, that if there's a saying, with great love, anything is possible. And, just this idea of being open to life,
Yeah. Well spoken. Well spoken.
Well, thank you. So pivoting a little bit here, we also have, there was that movie, The Night of the Living Dead, where the dead kind of, you try to kill them and they don't lay down for long. And we have the song Waves of Love that literally we started in your barn. You played at Jones Beach. Then we went to my apartment, as you recall, that was way up the stairs. I'd love for you to share any backstory or this sort of Waves of Love gem that we've been carrying in our pockets for all these years. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your feelings and stories, recollections about Waves of Love, and then Will's going to play a little bit of it.
Well, sure. Gosh, there's so many versions of this song now that a lot of us haven't even heard, including myself, because I've forgotten half of them. But this is it was a walk up of a 5-story walk up to your place with some musical equipment, keyboards and saxophones, and we laid down a track on Waves of Love in the middle of the night, if I recall, with Richie Cannata on that great saxophone, that Billy Joel sax sound, and I believe Matt Jardine was there, and we all just had a great time doing it. It was like just an after the show inspiration, actually it started in the casino, and I guess we started actually cutting a serious track with Carl Wilson, and after we did the basic, we went to Atlantic City and added Carl to the bridge. That's what it was. So there's a lot of evolution of this until we ended up with two versions, entirely different. The version I have on postcard, and now this version that you produced, which we call the East Coast version, which is kind of cool.
Does that mean we're going to get paid twice by like ASCAP or BMI?
That's a good question. I think so, because it's still the same writers. So I mean, it should follow us to our grave. You'll never know. We'll never know, but hopefully we will be paid. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the young writers write multiple versions of your songs, and then you'll get paid multiple times. And I'm sure when we unmute Martin here, he'll have more insight into that. So tell me about, like, I am like Luke Skywalker and you're, Yoda of the Dit Dit. So I love the Dit Dit story. If you want to share that for a moment.
It all started with the Crows. Have you ever heard of a band called the Crows?
No, I've heard of.
Yeah. 1954, I think, 55. A group called the Crows did a song called G. Really strong harmonies, and it was a number one R&B hit on Atlantic Records back in the. Brian and I just love that doo-wop stuff. In fact, we did our own little imitation of the G's on a version of Heroes and Villains that never really saw the light of day. But it probably has been on a lot of alternate versions that people have heard in the past. But the Dit Dits ended up being a big part of this of your version of Waves of Love, and I believe you finally got your wish, Larry, and you became the what's the term, the summa cum laude of dit-dits.
I've got to be an expert at something, so it might as well be dit-dits or even ooh-la-las, but we'll start with dit-dits. And just for anyone who's a singer, like, did you ever see people who have a really big fake smile, like they make their mouth really wide? Al taught me that if you kind of open your mouth wide and go dit-dit, the sound is pushed to what's called the front palate, which is like your cheekbones and the front, and it has a brighter sound. So I actually learned a singing technical thing as well, to have a fake smile when I'm dit-ditting, and it sounds better.
A fake smile.
Yeah, dit-dit,
yeah.
dit-dit. So
you're right. You gotta really, and you gotta really, exuberance is the word, I think. You gotta, sing with your, like any vocal, when you're around the mic, you just sing with that great energy. And it's like you're singing to a crowd. When you're singing to a microphone, you're really singing to the audience. So it's really great.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you remember this, but we were at 3 a.m. in my apartment, and from one whole street away, like, because we had the windows open, it was summer, like somebody yelled out of their apartment at 3 a.m, "Can you shut up? I'm trying to sleep, shut the gosh darn music."
Oh, that was funny.
And
that was New York.
Yes, and you turned to me, you're like, "What is that?" And I said, "That's New York City, the city that never sleeps." Somebody, we found the one person who wants to sleep in New York,
Funny.
So
true,
it's
so true.
Yeah. So let's play a little bit of Waves of Love. Will has it queued up, and just let people hear it again. Please forgive this. We're on Clubhouse. It's not it's not Avery Fisher Hall in New York, so just bear with the sound quality, but you'll get the gist of the song.
Okay. We have Al Jardine from the Beach Boys, Waves of Love 2.0, just released, Larry, a few days ago. And,
yesterday.
Yesterday. Great. Here we go. Let's play.
I used to believe there was nothing more. I had seen and done it all before. I developed a cold point of view till the day my heart was won by you. You awakened feelings I forgot. Inside my heart I kept locked up like a hummingbird in a redwood tree. You brought the love vibrations back to me, a feeling that I never had before. I'm riding on the waves of love. They got me feeling fine. Each time we touch, feeling so divine. On the waves tonight, breaking all there's a place for us on the waves of love, on the waves of love. Now when love comes too easily, well maybe that's the way it was meant to be. But to keep it fresh now in every way, you gotta work at love in her each day. Send her flowers just to let her know you care. Where do we go from here? I never thought I could love you more. And every time you're here, I get a feeling that I never had before. I'm riding
Ooh, yeah. All right.
Wow, Larry. Good
Yeah,
job, Larry.
I'm telling you, it's
Nice to.
technology.
Well,
Yeah.
we Carl Wilson's on this one too. He's just in a different octave, right?
Yeah, he's in the chorus singing with us. So, and then the on the waves of love, so he kind of comes in and out with Matt, your son, who sings now with Brian and yourself. And so it's Carl and you, and then Matt, and me kind of squeaking like a mouse in the background. So what a fun! I got to tell you, everybody, what a fun thing, just to make music that you're not trying to chase the radio. Martin, who's here, who we're going to have say hi in a moment, talks to literally thousands of songwriters each week on his clubhouse room that is at 5 p.m. New York time. And there's so many people concerned about just chasing the radio. Like that's, and to make music that's just for the sake of it, that's authentic. I keep telling people, do you, and that's what Waves of Love is. Like a hummingbird in a redwood tree, you brought the love vibrations back to me, and that was just your ranch. You look out the window and you see these beautiful trees. That you're
pretty natural.
Yeah. So, and that's something that I also want to point out for songwriters is sometimes you just find the thing near you. Also there's a song that's yet to be properly recorded called Wish, and we were at a restaurant called Nepenthe that's up above these cliffs, and you're actually above the clouds looking down, and we were thinking of a verse, and a blackbird came and just sort of landed, and then that lyric came out, blackbird flew upon the breeze and stole your love away. And at the time you were talking about Brian Wilson, and he had just sort of gotten away from that crazy Gene Landy guy, and the blackbird was kind of, for you had mentioned at the time that it was Brian's battles with mental illness and drugs and all kinds of things, and for me it was my mom who had just sort of had her own bouts of mental illness, and that's the beauty of songwriting. Do you remember that? Do you remember our writing of that Wish song? Al, I don't know if you can hear. Okay, it's telling me just we're gonna keep going on. Okay. Yeah, it was just sort of we weren't hearing you for a moment, and it's this.
Sounds like there's
wonderful...
a guitar, maybe something's.
Oh, I have a guitar. I was going to just play something that's another Al song.
Nice.
That we were writing a song. It was for me about my mom who was sick for a long time. It was for Al. Part of the conversation was about Brian Wilson and the challenges and the terrible ordeals that he had gone through. And we wrote this verse: a blackbird flew upon the breeze and stole your love away. Maybe he'll come back someday, and we will be lifted up on a silken wing. Together we can sing. Yeah, so you remember that, Al. It's we still have to record it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll finish it.
Yeah, we have to finish that. So I want to just pivot now, since we've been talking for a little while, and I want to talk about the fact that here we are, and everybody who's on this sort of new thing called Clubhouse is a kind of way that people are connecting, and people feel isolated in the lockdown of COVID-19. People are working from home. Children are going to school on Zoom, and it's a way for people to just talk and have conversations. So the Beach Boys were really known in the time, that you were working, and Brian as a producer, for exploration and experimenting. Like, you use that theremin and Good Vibrations that people were like, hear this woo sound, and they're like, is that like a spaceship landing? How was that for you, having Brian kind of come up with all of these new things? Because really what we're doing is a continuation of that. It's a big conversation here on Clubhouse of this idea that we're using technology to connect and to explore in new ways.
It was great. It was Carl's idea, I think, for the theremin, or Dennis's, or Carl, or I don't know. One of the brothers suggested the theremin, and
okay.
And the cello. I think the cello was suggested by Dennis, or Carl, and I believe Dennis played the organ on the bridge. But you'll have to check with him on that. I don't know. But it was a great experience. The theremin was quite a novel experience. Paul Tanner, the player on the theremin, used to do it. Used to record the horror movies. He would do that scary theremin sound, and the musicians union found him, and he came to the session.
Amazing. And what, I'm just curious, like, what were your, you don't have to sing them, but what part did you sing in Good Vibrations? Because there's so many tracks.
I always sing under I'm the tenor under the falsetto.
Okay. So
whatever Brian's singing on top, or Bruce on this occasion, might have been at that juncture. Depends on what how many of us there were on the session. But there were, I think, 6 of us on Vibrations.
It is one of the most memorable and iconic songs of in history. And Will, I just want to say, because I know you had queued it up, if you have it queued up, I'd love to actually hear a little bit of it. It's just one of these songs that actually, when you played it in 2012 at the Grammys, in that reunion moment, and you got on stage with Adam Levine of Maroon 5 and Mark Foster the People. I actually had arguments with someone on they said, no, they're lip syncing. How could they do that? And I said, no, I actually was sitting, in the audience watching, and it was live, and it was, combination of Brian's band and the Mike's touring band and you and Matt, and it was an extravaganza of singing. What is it like when you're in that wave of just a ton of vocals?
Well, you're in the moment, and it's been doing it for so many years. I can't remember at first, and probably the first time we ever did it was really kind of freaky. We had to do it live without all the instruments. You know what I mean? We had to actually sing the darn thing. Fortunately, we had enough voices, because Brian was touring with us at the time. We did a live album at University of Michigan. No, Michigan State University, sorry. Michigan State. And we did a live album there. And so at least we had all the voices there, including Brian.
Wow.
But it's only as good as your monitors. Let's put it that way. It's only as good as the monitors.
What happens
the vocal monitors on the floor? Because we didn't have ears at the time, so we rely a lot on your stage monitors. Have to be really blended right, so you hear all the parts, so you can sing your part to the other parts. It's nice to have all the parts in the monitor.
What happens if somebody's singing really loud and out of tune? Like, how do you kind of jump over that thing to the right note that you're supposed to sing? It's just, I'm curious.
Well, nobody sings out of tune. That's to begin with. There isn't anything like that in our band. To be honest with
Yes.
you, I
Yeah.
don't remember
Well,
that ever happening.
well, that's a really lucky
So I
thing,
don't
I
even
have
know
to
what to
tell
tell
you. Yeah. Will, do you mind?
Yeah.
Can we
We knew our
play a
parts.
little?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to play a little bit of Good Vibrations,
You got it.
just to sort of warm everything up, because it's such a joyful thing. And yeah.
I love the colorful clothes you wear and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of a gentle wind on the wind that lifts her perfume through the air. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. Close my eyes. She's somehow closer now. Softly smile, I know she must be kind. In her eyes, she goes with me to a blossom room. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. Excitations. Good vibrations.
So Al, if I can ask, that song was just played through Spotify, and there's over 233 million streams of that song. And this is the 60th anniversary of the Beach Boys. Over 6 decades, you've continued to write music, and I'm curious when that song came out, when you created that song with the group, thinking ahead, did you think you'd reach over 250 million people with that beautiful music?
No, not. Is this on? Okay. I don't think you think. No one really thinks that way. You just, because you're in the moment, and there's no way to predict or even expect.
Al,
So,
can I
do what you do?
just jump in on that, Al?
Yeah,
Jump
in.
here. I'd love to know. Obviously, we can't predict how many sales anything is going to do. We can always hope. But did you, at the time, when you were creating these records, did you get that incredible sort of the rush from it? Did you know that deep down, did you feel that you were creating something special?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I was proponent of putting that vibrations on sounds. That was my goal. And we all thought it would go on the album. But Brian was adamant about saving it for Smile. So we missed an opportunity there, but I knew it was so special that it had to go with that sounds, but it didn't. So what can I tell you?
How did it actually feel being part of that scene? What was it like?
What? I'm sorry. What was what like?
What was it like actually being part of being part of the Beach Boys? It's such an iconic sound, a standout group at the time, when you guys were absolutely sort of like just starting out and just making these massive waves. How did it feel? What was the experience like for you?
Oh, it's great. It was the early stuff was a lot easier because it was more direct, and Brian was writing wonderful little what he called pocket symphonies, little wonderful songs that had beautiful melodies, and then the production started to be very complex because of the Phil Spector influence, and then it was more like work. When you start getting into things like Good Vibrations and Heroes and Villains, Although Heroes and Villains was a lot of fun, actually. That's one I really enjoyed a lot. We started working on that one. Well, even in the early years, we were singing harmonies that resembled that, but we didn't record them at the time. But we started with very complex harmonies, and that was the most fun. Was just learning the freshman material. And Brian was so adept at dealing the parts to us, that there it was like a template for us, the harmonies. And that's really what we were. We were a harmony band, a singing band that turned into a production outfit, and that was quite a transition for us.
Amazing. And how do you keep your enthusiasm over 60 years of making music? How do you just not want to put it down and just say, "Oh, I've done enough now"? Where do you get your vibe from?
Well, just the songwriting is what keeps you going. Like Larry was saying, you're just getting in the right environment to write a song, that something new from a different direction, that constantly looking for another, point of view that might be interesting to people, and to listen to, and I don't know. It kind of worked for me personally, moving to the country and being able to write about things around me in the country, in this particular part of the world, getting away from the Southern California vibe and more into the Northern California vibe, So it's good to change your surroundings if you're a songwriter, to continually look for different avenues, to lyrically speaking, because lyrics are hard for me. I mean, I think for a lot of us, just to can have a musical inspiration, but then try matching it with the lyrics, it gets challenging. So anyway, I was lucky, and I was able to call in some friends to help me finish songs. And Postcard is a good example of that. A lot of folks came to the table when I asked them to, and it was really nice to have help, to help me finish things.
I love the fact that you got Neil Young in and gave him a verse. That made me smile. It's like anybody else would just kind of say, "Oh, Neil, take the whole thing." But I love the fact that you gave him a verse. Absolutely brilliant. One more question, if I may.
Yeah.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know how you feel about where music is now. You've experienced so many different changes in the music business. Does the music now excite you? Does it turn you off? And have you been tempted at all to sort of like bring, new influences into what is truly an iconic sound of what you do? And, have you been tempted just to sort of go there?
I don't really pay attention to radio. I'm afraid I have to say I never have. Brian's always been really good at that. He somehow he tries to keep pace with things, or did, I should say. I don't know about now so much, because there's so many other distractions, politically and everything else in the world. As you get older, you become more aware of other things that aren't so much fun to write about. So I've never really been a radio person like Brian. He'd always have his ear to the radio and trying to keep up with the current things. But I just not built that way. I'm more of a folk singer, to be honest with you. I just like traditional stuff, to be honest with you, and doo-wop, of course. And I have a few other interests, but I'm more of I'm not a current person. I never stay current. Marianne keeps me current. Let's put it that way. She's got me listening to the 70s now. Huh? Just kidding.
Yeah. Yes, Martin, these are great questions. Martin hosts a wonderful room, and I want to tell everyone that, Monday through Friday, the New York time at 5 o'clock and Los Angeles time 2 o'clock, he has these wonderful conversations, even tomorrow at the same time. And I just want to share with everyone on the audience, this is Al's literally first day on ClubHouse, so it's really groundbreaking. And please follow him. I did want to say that his website, aljardine.com, you can go to have this new single that we just pressed up, that is an autographed CD single, and it's a special collector's edition. We probably have already sold out, but you can try and see if it works. And and also, everyone up here, Martin and Will, like, we all have some wonderful things going on. So please follow and stay in touch. Al's Instagram and his Facebook page. So I want to pivot to a couple of questions now that we have. We have Martin here, and Martin is actually, Al, you've never met him, but we have two Martins. So I'm going to go to the Martin with the beautiful teddy bear, who actually arranged the strings on Jenny Clover. He and conducted the string quartet that's in there. So Martin, I'd love for you to say a few words and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm one of the Martins, and I love the conversation. All I really wanted to say is that from Larry, that I've done a lot of work for you, and every song that we worked on was completely different. And Jenny Clover, and during all that time, I was going through like 8 years of music school and professional education and everything. And every song was different, and everything I learned in music school was applicable to some of the songs. Like, put a sharp 11 here, or a flat 9 there. And it'll be fine. And the one song that stood out immediately was when you gave me the rough recording of Jenny Clover, and I just couldn't make it work. And I really tried, and I couldn't make it work because I tried to make it fancy. And then at some point it just hit me, like, no, it's a pretty song. It's such a good song that it's just pretty on its own. You don't have to fancy it up or anything. It's just the lyrics, the melody, and the chords are perfect. All you have to do is just write something pretty along with that pretty song. And I'm so happy to see the final product turn out the way the song was meant to be. Just pretty. Nothing more, nothing less, just a good song to listen to and a fun song to play in the car or at home or to hum along to or anything. And that's something that was the first time I learned that. That's something no one in music school ever teaches you. It's like, just make it pretty and it'll be good. That was just learning by doing. It's like, if the song's good enough, it's good. Like, it's just a good song from the get-go.
Have a seat.
So I was just so happy to work on that, and in hindsight realize, wow, I learned more from that than from the 8 years in music school and the 2 degrees that I got from that.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I never went to school myself, so I can't appreciate that, but that's very, very fascinating. Yeah.
So Larry, we've invited some other folks
like,
up on. Sorry.
Sorry.
Jump in,
just
Martin.
having listened to your conversation so far, that's what I was thinking too. That maybe it's a huge benefit of yours to never have gone to school for stuff like that, but you just make good music. That's it.
Yeah,
good point. Well,
yeah, I can't read or write music either, Al, so I'm with you all the way on that. If it's got demolished third in it, I wouldn't know if it slapped me around the face.
demolished third.
Larry, I know Kevin Antunes is burning with a question.
And I just for some housekeeping here, we have about 20 more minutes, and there's a lot of people want to speak. So just, if you don't mind, just sort of make the questions like as pointed and to the point, just so we can get as many people to ask questions as possible and wrap up in time because Al has an appointment, coming up pretty soon. So Kevin,
let's just,
please
we'll
introduce
just go
yourself.
down the line.
No
and
problem.
Larry called him out. And
Yeah,
Larry,
I'll
Larry,
call
thank
everybody
you.
up. Sure.
Larry,
Yeah.
thank you for having me in the room. Martin, really appreciate you. Al, it is an honor because the last time that I saw you was at that Grammy performance. I was there. I did Rihanna and Coldplay. But prior to that, speaking to the power of connection of Clubhouse, I met you in 1987 because you guys were so gracious when you let my father, Michael Tunes and Tunes, the sax player with John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, they opened up for you guys, and you had my dad come on stage with you guys and play with you separate from his band. And I think he just recently did a gig with you like 4 years ago in the Caribbean.
Oh man! Oh, that's so cool. You're very welcome. Very welcome. I appreciated him so much when he was with us.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. And so the question that I'd give to the room, bringing it back to music, I toured with Madonna for the past 12 years, and I know how challenging it is taking those sounds that you painstakingly make in the studio and try to recreate them live on stage. Could you speak to how, because your production was so intricate, and sometimes you guys would carry a lot of musicians and singers, and other times you wouldn't. So how difficult was it to do that?
Well, we were basically a performance band, so it was not. We probably weren't as polished as we should have been, but apparently it worked. In the early years, it was pretty much we were more of a guitar band. So that was easy, and 3 or 4 chords in a song. But then it got a little more complex, and we needed more voices after. Pet Sounds. And now that I'm with the Brian band, Brian and I are in this is really studio quality stuff. We're back to that again. We're kind of back to the studio band again. The studio recording style with music directors and choreographers. No, did I say that? Not choreographers, but everything's very intricate right now. And so really, the Brian Wilson band is an extraordinary studio quality sound to it. I haven't been in the Beach Boy bands in so long that I honestly can't speak about that, but I know people enjoy that performance. There are different kinds of ways of presenting it, of the music. But it was difficult at first, but we didn't know. We really didn't know, to be honest with you, how good we were or how bad we were. Because if you start reading the reviews, everybody's got their opinion,
You
And
guys, you guys
dangerous
were
place to
amazing.
go.
I stood on the side of the stage. You guys were absolutely amazing. And I would tell everybody in this room, go and buy his new single. Don't just stream it. Go buy it. I just did. We can do that.
That's really kind of you, Kevin, coming from you. I mean, I just, we don't know who's in the room, and I just looked at your profile and put 2 and 2 together and realized, like, if you're MDing, a Madonna tour, I mean, that is a city that moves, at the highest production scale, and between the dancers and lighting and costumes, and I mean, and music, obviously, it's unbelievable. And thank you, for saying such kind words, and amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go down the line here and say, Jeff, I know that you've been here and wanting to talk, and say hi to Al that you have known from the past. So Jeff, if you can unmute.
Hey there, Larry. Thanks for bringing
Celentano.
up. Hey, Al, man, it's so good to hear from you, man.
How are you?
I'm great, man. Great. Look, I don't really have a question because everybody knows I'm probably the biggest Beach Boys nerd on Clubhouse. So out of all 2 million people, if anybody has a question. But Al, dude, every time I see you, I always ask the same question. How the hell do you keep sounding so great? And I just wanted to say, it was, as an enormous Beach Boys fan, the opportunity to get to travel and tour with you and play those iconic songs with the guy, with one of the guys who was on the records that I just grew up worshiping and that I still worship. It was just an honor, man. I mean, to play those songs, to play the Pet Sounds tunes, there were several nights where I'd look over and I'd be, where I was like, oh my God, there's Al Jardine and there's Matt and there's, there's everybody. And we're playing Good Vibrations. We're playing God Only Knows. So it was an honor, man. I would do in a heartbeat anytime again. It was just so much fun. I love you and I love the music you've made. And it was an honor to be a part of that for a brief period. So thank you, man, for everything. Oh, and one more thing. Here's for those of you listening in the room, Brian gets a lot of credit, obviously, certainly due for the production and the writing. But Al, I mean, dude, your productions, Loop de Loop, and your version of Cotton Fields, I still think is the better version, the production-wise, of Cotton Fields. So, man, you are a fantastic producer, who I don't think gets his due on that as well. So, by all means, check out some of Al's tracks in the Beach Boys catalog. They are fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. That's really kind.
Man, every word of it.
Yeah, it's amazing. This again, we've been having conversations, Will and I and others in the room, about this idea about how technology is, in its best sense, transforming the way we live, work, learn, connect. And the fact that, Jeff, you're coming in and you have had past connections with Al Martin, who just shared, and Al didn't even know about, has been my main go-to person for arranging and performing on string quartets and horn arrangements. He just did a horn arrangement for a new album that I'm doing. So this is just what the magic of ClubHouse. Like I think like we've raised the vibration with everything that's been with Kevin and Martin and Jeff. What you just said, like, is taking it up. Let's keep it moving and go to Jens, who I see is I believe from Germany or Austria. And Jens, you want to mute and say
hi? Hi, thanks for bringing me on stage. It's really a huge honor to talk to you, Al. Greetings from Berlin. We're totally locked down, but this really makes my day. It's a really great feeling. And yeah, this technology thing, it's really great that I can talk to you. At first, I want to say I also visited your tour in 2012 in Berlin, and it was really the greatest concert I've ever been to. And I really needed 2 weeks to come down after that. It was really incredible. Thanks for that. Al, my question, after that, I saw you with the Brian Wilson Band, and I also saw the Beach Boys version with Mike Love. So and somehow I had all these experiences. So, and I'm always fascinated by the Beach Boys history because it's so colorful, and you already talked about this change from being a doo-wop band to being this production outfit. And my question goes in this direction. How do you really feel about the legacy that there's this some of this gap or some of this mixture of this Beach Boys as a spiritual institution that really touches the hearts of so many millions of people, and also this kind of this shattered phenomenon that you have two bands, but both bands play basically the same music. So that's a really fascinating thing I often thought about, and I would love to hear your feeling about that.
Well, that's a loaded question, isn't it? The feeling is that we should all come back together, and for our new anniversary coming up, this big 60th anniversary coming up this coming year, and all of us should come back together. And I know Brian, I just heard from Brian the other day, he wants to come back together and do it again too. So I'm sure Mike will see it that way, and we'll do some concertizing as a unit. What's left of us, and because it's the way it should be, particularly with our new anniversary, our next anniversary. But yeah, it's like a schizophrenia. We're kind of schizophrenic right now, and hopefully that'll change, and we can present some new music as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks for the question. And I also thought that That's Why God Made the Radio was a really great record. So thanks for everything, Al. You're great.
Thank you very much for coming to the concert. The Brian Wilson concert's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, Jens. That's very, very kind of you. It's just amazing. I'm still, I know I sound like aw shucks, but the fact that so many people from different parts of the world, different places, can come together on Clubhouse, Al, and talk to you really is groundbreaking. It's something that I have this idea where we are really the wall between performer and fan or audience or customer has come down, and I see it in a lot of other things as well. Like there's this app called Cameo where I could have some actor who I'm a fan of, or some musician sing happy birthday to my best friend or get on a call. And there's obviously something a few people might have heard of, the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, where I'm on a Zoom with Roger Daltrey of The Who in 2 weeks, and I get to just listen to him talk about various stages of The Who and ask questions, and that would never happen before. And Clubhouse and these other technologies are bringing you, Al, into the future with all of this this new way of like people, this mushing together of let's say audience and performer.
Wow. Time keeps on ticking into the future.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Steve Miller.
Wow.
What song did Steve Miller sing on your album? On Postcard?
Yeah, I ambushed him. He's doing Help Me Rhonda. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to have him sing it, and he ended up singing the harmony somehow, and it was a different experience for me. And but he took his private time and his own airplane and dropped in to record with me, which I thought was pretty darn cool.
Wow. And
really nice
that's one of your really signature songs live. I mean, that's a big decision to choose, like, who's going to sing a version of Help Me Rhonda with you not on lead vocals.
I know. Well, actually, I misspoke. I did sing the lead, but he kind of transformed the lead slightly. Let's put it that way. But he's an inventive, wonderful. God, he's such an innovative person, and I got to know a lot about the Steve Miller experience by working with him. So that's nice to be able to share time with people that you normally would never meet, or play with. And so I learned a lot.
Your sandbox for Postcard from California had some, of the world's best artists and performers, and I guess that's a benefit of being a founding member of the Beach Boys. You can kind of ring up Steve Miller, and he sort of parachutes in on his private jet kind of thing. That's awesome.
Amazing. Absolutely
amazing. So we're gonna keep it. Yeah. I'm going to keep it going and ask Tom, who's here, just so we can get as many people who want to ask a question. And just Tom, if you want to unmute yourself.
I'm good. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Martin and Will. This is great. Al, I saw your Pet Sounds tour with Brian Wilson when you were doing back when we could actually go see music. And it was really terrific. I had a quick question though. Your son, I noticed Matt, and you've mentioned your sons a couple of times, and he sang and sang beautifully, and it was really great. He was a great addition to the show. Did you talk him into getting into music? Did you try to talk him out of getting into music? And what's it like touring with your guys? That's kind of a fun thing.
I can't honestly remember. I know what happened. He was our assistant road manager, helping out with luggage and stuff like that with our overworked staff. And then we called upon him when we needed a percussionist because he had a mild amount of experience. Not a lot actually. We had a breakdown and somehow one of the guys couldn't play for some reason. I can't remember why. And he was called on the task, and he performed so well, we decided to keep him in the band. And we what's the term? We promoted him to percussionist.
That's
when he
great.
was about. Well, but then after that, after that, he joined the singing band. Carl, we were losing our singers. A couple of guys were singing Brian's parts, but they just weren't cutting it. And Matt auditioned for the singing role, and pretty soon, believe it or not, he began singing Brian's parts with us. And for about since the 1980s, he's been part of the Beach Boy band too, and then now the Brian Wilson band. So yeah, he's earned his keep.
Absolutely. Anybody who claims nepotism hasn't heard him. It's good stuff. And you were great too, Al. It was wonderful. It was wonderful hearing you and seeing you.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I got to know your son Matt, who during the 90s touring band where he just took over. Brian wasn't back yet, and he sang all those high parts, and I just, in my imagination, he must have had like tight underwear or something, like to reach those notes every night. It's a very sort of Herculean task, to stay on point with those very high harmonies, because in the studio you can redo them and double take, double track and quadruple track. But Matt has, I think Matt, and forgive us for tangenting here for a moment, we have a lot of other questions, but Matt is a really kind of unsung hero, and I really hope to see him put some of his own music out, because he's his own person. He really is, and his talent is amazing.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Yeah, so everybody in the room, if you haven't, go look up on Instagram Matthew or Matt Jardine and follow him and get to know him, because he's an extraordinary talent by himself, and he is sort of, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and he grew up literally around Al and the Beach Boys in those incredible days. So he's he's sort of the next generation of all of this beautiful sound that has come out and thrilled the world for so long.
Hey, Larry, we got to make sure we get Al's Instagram on his page so everybody can follow him too.
Absolutely. And I was just saying that to his social media guy who's there. Spud is his name. And Spud, by the way, if you want to say hi, we everybody here wants to follow Al. So definitely, please, Spud, hook up the Twitter. And it's literally, we just did this within the last few hours to get Al all sorted here. And
I will get that all in the clubhouse. Thanks, Larry. And hi, everybody.
Yeah, so Spud has been helping organize many things, including autographing and a lot of CDs. I'm starting to ask people to please not buy the CD, which is a very bad thing, but not on this call. Like, please keep going.
Larry, I just want to say also, this room has become really dynamic with all of these questions from people who've obviously been fans and are musicians, and I just appreciate you, Larry, bringing this group together with Do What You Love, and Al coming in and sharing your time. I think this is really vibrant, and we're crossing generational bridges, artistic bridges. So I want to hear a few more questions if we have more time for that.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes, and then I want to let Al go because he has an appointment. But yes, please, and Al, we're going to do more of this. And what I'd like to do, if we do it again and have more time to set up, is talk about your environmental concerns. You did Don't Fight the Sea, and you've been very involved in a lot of things. The David Lynch Foundation. So maybe there's another room that we do at some point where we really talk about these passion projects of yours.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so just I'm gonna pick one or two more, and we're gonna let you go. Taylor, who's next up, actually mixed Jenny Clover and played the timpanis and some of the drums on it. So Taylor, I'd love for you to say hi. You've never met Al.
Hi. What an honor to be here and to be able to speak to you all. Never in my life did I think that I'd be working on an Al Jardine track. But I was just going to ask, very rarely do people ever retire from music. Usually it's a lifelong thing. Do you constantly write music?
Yeah. Yeah, you never
Yeah.
stop.
Never stop.
It's
It
just
keeps
an
you young,
ongoing
right?
process. It is a lifelong project.
Yeah. And I was just
Yeah.
wondering,
It's a
when
passion.
were
You
the
have to have a passion
vocals?
for something. Yeah.
That's right. I was wondering, when were the vocals for Jenny Clover recorded? Because when I got the stems, it sounded like they were recorded, about 30 years ago or something on tape.
It might be. I honestly can't remember, but Larry actually finished it. Larry produced it. So he would be better to answer that one. I just did the lead vocal.
Right.
Yeah, Taylor. It's a combination. We started off in Al's studio, literally, as you said, on tape 30 years ago. Bounced it over to digital. Did some work in 2010 in Brooklyn. We came into a studio, and it was a really fun thing. I got Al on the L train in New York. Anyone who knows the L train, it's this thing that sort of is the main hub, and it was a total. Very different setting than, let's say, the beautiful North California coast, and like a duck to water, we did all of this work, and then I also did a lot of vocals here and there. So it's really a stew, of a lot of different musical peas and carrots and things that evolved over the years.
Yeah. And the Jenny Clover is about your beloved cow. Are there other cows that you are passionate about?
She was the last one, the first and last. She was a saintly cow. We couldn't replace her.
I see. Well, thank you so much for your time, and it's been a great blessing hearing you speak. All right? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for what you did.
So Al, do you have time for one more question? I just wanted to, get the pulse of how it's working for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what I want to, ask, I guess, Brett, you've unmuted. So do you want to add? Do you have something quick you want to say?
Yeah. If we've got time, Larry, I'd love to. I just want to say really quickly, thank you for putting this room together, Larry and Will, and Al. Really great to hear all the stories. Very first concert I ever went to was a Beach Boys concert way back in the 70s. And I've always been fascinated with the amazing harmonies that you guys put together, both on record and then recreating them live. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about how the vocal arrangements happen. Do they happen sort of organically? Is one person writing them and then just dictating, what the lines are? Do you sort of work them out, one at a time? And then secondly to that, how were they recorded in the early days? Were they done live? Were they done one at a time? I'll shut up now.
Yeah, Brian had it in his head already prearranged, so it's really easy. And the voices were on the right hand, and the bass is on the left hand, and it's real simple. And he was a master composer and arranger, so it was quite just like very effortless, to be honest with you. And we all had a natural range, and so we all fit into our own particular niche, whatever the heck you call it. Each one of us had a vocal range, and it was quite effortless, really.
And in terms of recording the vocals in the early days, was it done all at once? Was it done one at a time? How were they laid down?
All at once.
All at once. Wow.
Everything was done at the same time. The leads were usually done. Leads were usually saved for last. You had to open a track and make a track available for the lead. The tracks are done, then the vocal backgrounds, then the lead, in that order.
Cool.
And then we'd have to ping pong. We call it ping ponging vocals back and forth, to combining, I should say, would be a better term. Combining until you continue to open tracks, and you're really pre-mixing along the way as you open tracks on a 4-track machine. And then by the time you have one left, hopefully you have a good mix and you have a good lead and you've got your song. Your song is done.
Very cool. Thank you.
That pretty much does it, I think.
Yeah, you have to actually really be good at singing to track, multiple harmonies together. And certainly these days with the way people work on Pro Tools and other thing is just, one at a time and cutting and pasting. I just want to jump very quickly to Alessandro, who signed up early as really a fan of you, Al, and the Beach Boys, and sort of literally joined Clubhouse just for this talk. I want to invite if Alessandro wants to ask a quick question as well.
Thanks so much, Larry. Very, very quick.
Okay.
I just find that nobody often mentions your great bass playing on the early records as well as touring throughout the 70s. I was just wondering, how did you get into playing bass? And because you play upright as well. I was hoping you could speak quickly on the bass playing.
Oh, I was in a folk band in high school, and we rented equipment. I rented the bass from my folk band for the Beach Boys' first song. But the folk music is really simple, and it's kind of stand-up was always the medium for a folk band. If you even had a bass, sometimes a lot of bands didn't even have a bass player. But I just love playing the bass. I love bass guitar, and Brian and I, for some reason, gravitated. He's a piano player and a very fine and a very good bass player as well. So we complemented each other in that regard. So it was pretty simple. Everything was so simple then, we were not studio players by any imagination, but we got the job done.
Great, thank you.
Fantastic. Al, do you have to go or time for one more?
I gotta go.
Okay, so
I think I better go.
Yeah, so I just want to say on behalf of, I think I can speak for everybody in this room, and I also want to let both Martin and Will unmute in a second and say, thank you. I want to thank you for coming on. It's this was totally within the last few hours that we got everything worked out to do this, and I know that you're, have a lot going on at home, and I just want to say it's an honor to bring everyone together. And anyone who wants more, please go to aljardine.com. His social guy who's there is going to get his Instagram, but there's really only one Al Jardine, so you'll find him on Facebook and Instagram. And we're going to do more of these. This is the first, and it's going to become a Do What You Love series that we welcome people to really talk about their, what makes a life fulfilling, what is how you put your passion and your profession together, like Al has done now for 60 years. So I just want to ask Will if you want to say a few words, and Martin if you want to say a few words, and we're going to let you go.
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
Al, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who joined today for the Do What You Love series with Al Jardine. I think some of the pearls of history that came out about how things actually happened in the early days and how Al thinks about music were really special. So Larry, thanks for helping bring this together. It's a magical day.
Yeah, and I just want to second that. I want to thank you for joining us today, Al. Such a privilege, but more so, I just want to say thank you for the music, period. Amazing.
Yeah, Al, do you have any last?
Thank you.
You have any last words, and we're gonna let you wing off to your appointment.
Well, thank you for being in my room.
Thanks, Al.
It was
your
yeah. It was
I don't know
it
which
was
room it is.
it was fun. And wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to do it again?
Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, indeed. Thanks everybody for coming, for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you, Al. You can go. I'm going to just close out after you sign off and just share some things. So please feel free to wing off. And yeah, Martin and Will, I really want to thank both of you for coming in and just really adding, Martin, the questions that you asked, I think really elevated the conversation. I can, in a vulnerable honesty, like go off on lovely tangents, like, singing in the living room and having the neighbors complain about the noise and sort of go off. And you really put some pointed, wonderful questions together. And Will has been just really helpful to me in inspiring me to do this. We I was worried, like, if we do this and what if no one shows up, is, an embarrassing thing. And I think that's what we do as artists, and that's what we do as creators, or even, entrepreneurs and founders. We show up, and maybe somebody comes and maybe they don't. So, yeah, Will and Martin, if you want to have any closing words about today. I just had to let Al go because he has a pretty important appointment, and didn't want to keep him too long.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for this, Larry. And you were right to take the plunge. It's a build a field and they will come. It's you absolutely have to go with your gut in Clubhouse. Anybody that's thinking of hosting a room and is nervous, when I hosted my first one, there was like 5 people in it. And those 5 people kept coming back, and there's upwards of 200 every time now. And it's just go with it. What's the worst that can happen? You end up talking to a few cool people. So you've done an amazing job, Larry. You too, Will. And yeah, real privilege to be with you guys. Thank you.
No, Martin, thanks a lot. You really brought in a lot of great questions and energy into the room, and Jeff and Jens and everyone, Taylor, everybody came in asking questions. Sorry we didn't get to everybody, but I think it was a special time. And what it is, it's really about authenticity, Larry. I think this is the key, right? You on Twitter, on Facebook, you can have your social media manager pretend to be you. When you're touring, when you're performing, you're performing. And this, what's happening in Clubhouse, I think what's rising to the top is authentic conversations. I actually was on Clubhouse hosting a room last night with a partner in Korea, a friend in Korea, and I had live translation discussion about blockchain, music, and life with people from Korea and people from Silicon Valley and around the world. And this is what's going to happen. So I think, Larry, what you bring and what the people in this room who came up and spoke and are bringing is, I just love hearing the questions. I loved hearing, this my first concert was Beach Boys concert, or or my father opened up for you that one time. I mean, these are beautiful moments of history, of musical history, that are sincere. And if we can continue to bring the people who were there to tell the stories, how they happened, that is oral tradition, passing down stories so that the next generation of musicians and artists and creators can hear it from the originals, not necessarily what they read online. So I think this is special, and let's keep this going. Anybody who's in this room who likes this vibe, get in touch with us, join us. This is an open format that we're continuing to develop.
Yes, and everybody, please, here on Clubhouse, follow Will, follow Martin, follow Jeff and Jens and Tom and Taylor and Brett and John and Mark. We didn't get to talk, but it has, and Kevin, you're sort of incredible, sort of starting off the whole thing with the, asking questions. It's just, I really felt the room elevate the minute we sort of really opened up the conversation. So I know that Al will be coming back, and I also will be bringing other people in. This is, for me, the Hindu word of dharma, which is, your life's work, like what you came in this lifetime to do. My life's work is really being a bridge and connecting this side to that side, and I just love it, and it's effortless. So I really hope to bring in a lot more people, and if anyone has any suggestions, we're with Will, we're building this sort of conversation together, where people who have done things that have made a difference in other people's lives, like sharing that conversation and learning from them and helping others along their journey to do the same thing. And just for a moment or two, if there's anyone else on stage who didn't get to say something and just want to unmute and say hi and ask Martin or Will or myself a question. I just realized that we almost got to you, John and Mark and Nikita. So please feel free if there's something you want to say. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for putting the room together, man. It was a great conversation. I jumped in a little bit late, but yeah, I hope there are more of them like this. This is a great idea for like a continuing series. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm just, every time I'm in a room with you, John, it's corny to say, but I love your screenshot, with the polar bear behind you, with some bling. Like it's definitely, you're definitely a badass, if I could just say that.
The bear is the cooler of the two, so there is that.
Yeah. Your humility is wonderful, and I want to say hello to Mark. Who is one of my new soul brothers here from ClubHouse, and is such a talented person himself. Mark, if you are listening and you want to say hi, it would be great.
Yeah, I'm here. I was listening with pleasure. Sadly, I arrived a little bit late from a lunch appointment I had, but I enjoyed every minute of it. And I never got to work with Al Jardine, but I enjoyed the story about Steve Miller because I did work with him and recorded the very song that with Steve, and I worked with the Beach Boys for 6 months as their live here. So I hope to I hope they get back together, as Al said, and I hope to be on that tour.
Larry,
go ahead.
I wanted to add something. Since we got a bunch of amazing artists, producers here, I spent a couple of days this week trying to figure out how to stream music into ClubHouse. So, for example, this is Larry and Al's new single.
You're sort of going in and out. Yeah.
So I figured out with the and it works with different music in different ways. To have streaming music and audio and feedback using an iRig 2 and an Alesis 4 USB mixer and a variety of cabling. So if anybody wants to learn that technique, I'm happy to open source and share what I've explored. I talked with other folks on ClubHouse. So just kind of a PSA of if you're trying to do a room and you're trying to stream music and not just have it come over, it depends really on the range of the song and the master. But in certain types of music, especially instrumental, acoustic, singer-songwriter, this setup with the Alesis Multimix 4 USB and the iRig 2 and some cabling, lightning cabling, I figured out how to do it. So if you want to learn how to do it, just hit me up on my look at my bio, contact me anyway. I'm happy to share that with you guys.
Yep, I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Yeah, Will, your
very
audio
cool. Will, I'll
sounds
send
great.
it.
You got it, guys.
Yeah, and it was there's a behind the scenes thing where there was a whole lot of Beach Boys fans that really wanted to come in, and I was scrambling to try to put them into my contacts list, and then if they were on the waiting room to come in, and and part of why we recorded this and just want everyone to know that we wanted to make this available to a lot of people who couldn't get in or don't have an iPhone or finding out about this late. We want to create a little library of resources for people. And again, this has just been amazing. Does anyone have last thoughts? Or it's a shame if we were in 3D and there was no pandemic, we'd all go out for coffee and hang out after this.
I just wanted to say thank you again. This was such a great room. We chatted about this earlier in the week when you were sort of brainstorming about questions to ask and the theme and all of the rest, and it worked out even better than I think you might have imagined. Great job, both you and Will. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, just to close out and say, Martin and Will, you guys are very special to me, and it's just such a blessing. I've been in rooms now with Jeff quite a lot, and also with Mark and John quite a lot, and this is amazing what's happening here. It's an amazing moment, and I think everybody who feels it, and I try not to be addicted. I get up in the middle of the night to get some water, and I'm like, oh, it's 4 a.m. I wonder who's on ClubHouse. And sure enough, I'm in a room of something unbelievable, and don't get much sleep. So anyway,
I'll play us out, Lair. So let's
all right, play us out. Here we go. And thank you guys, and we'll be back for more. So
cheers, buddy. Thank you, bye.